ওয়েলকাম। এখানে 180টি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ অ্যাকাউন্টিং জার্নাল এন্ট্রি দেওয়া হলো, যা ইংরেজি এবং বাংলা উভয় ভাষায় পাশাপাশি ব্যাখ্যা করা হয়েছে। এই লেনদেনগুলির মধ্যে ক্যাপিটাল, ড্রয়িং, সেলস, পারচেজ, এক্সপেন্স, ইনকাম, অ্যাসেটস, লায়াবিলিটিস, অ্যাডজাস্টমেন্ট, ডেপ্রিসিয়েশন, ভ্যাট, এটসেট্রা অন্তর্ভুক্ত। Serial 1. Owner invest cash debit, capital credit. 2. Owner invest bank check, bank debit, capital credit. Owner introduced furniture debit, capital credit. 4. Owner introduced buildings debit, capital credit. 5. Owner introduced machinery debit, capital credit. 6. Owners withdraw cash, drawings debit, cash credit. 7. Owners withdraw bank amount, drawings debit, bank credit. 8. Owners took goods for personal use, drawings debit, purchase credit. 9. Owner used business car personally, drawings debit, car expense credit. 10. Owner paid child school fee from business, drawings debit, cash credit. On purchase goods for cash, purchase debit, cash credit. 2. Purchase goods on credit, purchase debit, accounts payable credit. 3. Return goods through supplier, accounts payable debit, purchase return credit. 4. Purchase goods with GST, purchase debit, GST input debit, accounts payable credit. 5. Paid for purchase by check, accounts payable debit, bank credit. 6. Sold goods for cash debit, sales credit. 7. Sold goods on credit, account receivable debit, sales credit. 8. Customers returned goods, sales return debit, account receivable credit. 9. Sold goods with VAT, account receivable debit, sales credit, VAT payable credit. 10. Cash discount received on purchase, accounts payable debit, discount received credit, cash credit. On paid salary in cash, salary expense debit, cash credit. 2. Paid rent by check, rent expense debit, bank credit. 3. Paid electricity bill, electricity expense debit, cash credit. 4. Paid interest bill, interest expense debit, bank credit. 5. Paid telephone bill, telephone expense debit, cash credit. 6. Advertising expense in cash, advertising expense debit, cash credit. 7. Receive commission in cash debit, commission income credit. 8. Receive interest from bank debit, interest income credit. 9. Paid office maintenance expense debit, cash credit. 10. Paid fuel expense debit, cash credit. 10. Paid fuel expense debit, cash credit. 11. Travel expense paid, travel expense debit, cash credit. 12. Receive rent from tenant, cash debit, rent income credit. 13. Office supplies purchased, office supplies debit, cash credit. 14. Receive consultancy fee, bank debit, consultancy income credit. 15. Donation paid in cash, donation expense debit, cash credit. 16. Plenty paid to authority, plenty expense debit, bank credit. 17. Masculine expense paid, masculine expense debit, cash credit. 18. Depreciation of machinery, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. 19. Bad debt written off, bad debt expense debit, account receivable credit. 20. Receive dividend from shares, bank debit, dividend income credit. Asset and liability journal entries. On purchase furniture for cash, furniture debit, cash credit. 2. Purchase computer on credit, computer debit, account payable credit. 3. Sold old furniture for cash debit, furniture credit. 4. Issue check to repay bank loan, bank loan debit, bank credit. 5. Loan received from bank, bank debit, bank loan credit. 6. Purchase land for cash, land debit, cash credit. 7. Buildings constant, buildings debit, bank credit. 8. Prepaid insurance record, prepaid insurance debit, bank credit. 9. Accrued expense at year end, expense account debit, accrued expense credit. 10. Create provision for bad debts, bad debts expense debit, provision for doubtful debts credit. 11. Bought bicycle for business, bicycle debit, cash credit. 12. Machinery repaired and paid, repair expense debit, cash credit. 13. Outstanding salary recorded, salary expense debit, salary payable credit. 14. Outstanding rent record, rent expense debit, rent payable credit. 15. Paid advance to supplier, advance to supplier debit, cash credit. 16. Advance received from customer, cash debit, customer advance credit. 17. Receivable from customer record, account receivable debit, sales credit. 18. Inventory purchased, inventory debit, cash credit. 19. Inventory written up, damaged, loss by damage debit, inventory credit. 20. Fixed deposit made in bank, fixed deposit debit, bank credit. Adjustment and accrual journal entries. On salary outstanding at year end, salary expense debit, outstanding salary credit. 2. Rent unpaid at year end, rent expense debit, rent payable credit. Prepaid insurance debit, insurance expense credit. 4. Accrued interest income, interest receivable debit, interest income credit. 5. Accrued commission income, commission receivable debit, commission income credit. 6. Advance rent received, cash debit, unearned rent income, credit. 7. Unearned income adjustment, unearned income debit, income credit. 8. Depreciation on building, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. Nine. Depreciation on bicycle, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. 10. Bad debts written up, bad debts expense debit, account receivable credit. 11. Provision for doubtful debts, bad debts expense debit, provision for doubtful debts credit. 12. Provision for taxation, income tax expense debit, provision for tax credit. 13. Closing stock entry, closing stock debit, trading account credit. 14. Goods destroyed by fire, loss by fire debit, inventory credit. 15. Interest on capital debit, capital credit. 16. Interest on drawings debit, interest on drawing credit. 17. Amortization of interest asset, amortization expense debit, intangible asset credit. 18. Outstanding wages expense debit, wages payable credit. 19. Accrued utility bills, utility expense debit, utility payable credit. 20. Unearned service revenue debit, service revenue credit. Bank transaction journal entries. On cash deposit into bank, bank debit, cash credit. 2. Cash withdraw from bank, cash debit, bank credit. 3. Check receipt from deposit, bank debit, account receivable credit. 4. Check issued to supplier, accounts payable debit, bank credit. 5. Bank search debit by bank search debit, bank credit. 6. Bank interest credit, bank debit, interest income credit. 7. Loan taken from bank debit, bank loan credit. 8. Loan payment by bank loan debit, bank credit. 9. Bank interest paid on loan, interest expense debit, bank credit. 10. Fixed deposit placed. Fixed deposit debit, bank credit. 11. Fixed deposit matured. Bank debit, fixed deposit credit. 12. Bank collect check from debtor, bank debit, account receivable credit. 13. Dishonest check from customer, account receivable debit, bank credit. 14. Bank error correct, as record, debit credit. 15. Bank reconciliation adjustment, as applicable, debit credit. 16. EFT receipt from client, bank debit, income, account receivable credit. 17. Online payment made, expense oblique payable debit, bank credit. 80. Bank guarantee issued, bank guarantee asset debit, bank credit. 90. Stop payment issued, no entries. 20. RTGS oblique NEFT payment made, supplier oblique expense debit, bank credit. On provided for doubtful debts, bad debts expense debit, provision for doubtful debts credit. 2. Return of bad debt, provision for doubtful debts debit, account receivable credit. 3. Create provision for tax, income tax expense debit, provision for tax credit. 4. Paid tax from provision, provision for tax debit, bank credit. 5. Create provision for warranty, warranty expense debit, provision for warranty credit. 6. Claimed warranty expense, provision for warranty debit, inventory oblique bank credit. 7. Provided depreciation on building, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation, building credit. 8. Provided depreciation on machinery, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation, machinery credit. 9. Provided depreciation on bicycle, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation bicycle credit. 10. Amortization software license, amortization expense debit, software license credit. 11. Provision for leave encashment, employee benefits expense debit, provision for leave encashment credit. 12. Provision for bonus, bonus expense debit, provision for bonus credit. 13. Reduce provision after actual bonus paid, provision for bonus debit, bank credit. 14. Increase provision for tax adjustment, income tax expense debit, provision for tax credit. 15. Provide depreciation on furniture, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation furniture credit. 16. Amortized goodwill, amortized expense debit, goodwill credit. 17. Reserved expense provision, provision account debit, income account credit. 18. Depreciation charge monthly, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. 19. Adjust incorrect period provision, provision account debit credit, return earnings debit credit. 20. Increase provision for doubtful debts due to risks, bad debts expense debit, provision for doubtful debts credit. On purchase goods with VAT, purchase debit, input VAT debit, cash oblique bank credit. 2. Sold goods with VAT, cash oblique bank debit, sales credit, output VAT credit. 3. Purchase on credit VAT, applicable, purchase debit, input VAT debit, accounts payable credit. 4. Sales on credit VAT, applicable, account receivable debit, sales credit, output VAT credit. 5. Input VAT adjustment against output VAT debit, input VAT credit. Paid VAT to government, output VAT debit, bank credit. 7. Received VAT refund from government, bank debit, input VAT credit. 8. Reverse charge VAT applicable, expense account debit, input VAT debit, accounts payable credit. 9. VAT on asset purchase, asset account debit, input VAT debit, cash/bank credit. 10. VAT on service income, cash/bank debit, service income credit, output VAT credit. 11. VAT on service purchase, service expense debit, input VAT debit, bank credit. 12. Adjustment for excess output VAT debit, VAT payable credit. 13. Adjustment for excess input VAT receivable debit, input VAT credit. 14. Input of goods with VAT, import duty expense debit, import VAT debit, customs/bank credit. 15. VAT included in invoice price, purchase debit, input VAT debit, supplier credit. 16. Goods returned by customer, VAT include, sales return debit, output VAT debit, customer credit. 17. Return goods to supplier, VAT include, supplier debit, purchase return credit, input VAT credit. 18. Advance received with VAT, bank debit, advance from customer credit, output VAT credit. 19. Advance payment to supplier with VAT, advance to supplier debit, input VAT debit, bank credit. Year-end adjustment journal entries. On salary outstandings, salary expense debit, salary payable credit. 2. Rent outstandings, rent expense debit, rent payable credit. 3. Wages payable, wages expense debit, wages payable credit. 4. Accrued interest income, interest receivable debit, interest income credit. 5. Commission receivable debit, commission income credit. 6. Prepaid insurance debit, insurance expense credit. 7. Prepaid rent debit, rent expense credit. 8. Closing stock recorded, closing stock debit, trading account credit. 9. Depreciation on machinery, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. 10. Depreciation on furniture, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation credit. 11. Provision for bad debts expense debit, provision for doubtful debts credit. Doubtful debts debit, account receivable credit. 30. Accrued utility bills, utility expense debit, utility payable credit. 14. Amortization of intangible asset, amortization expense debit, intangible asset credit. 15. Income received in advance, cash/bank debit, unearned income credit. 16. Unearned income now earned, unearned income debit, income credit. 17. Goods destroyed by fire, loss by fire debit, inventory credit. 18. Interest on capital debit, capital account credit. 19. Interest on drawings debit, interest on drawings credit. 20. Outstanding advertisement expense, advertisement expense debit, advertisement payable credit. On capital introduced in asset account debit, capital account credit. 2. Goods given as charity/donation account debit, purchase credit. 4. Loss of goods by thief account debit, inventory credit. 5. Loss of goods by fire account debit, inventory credit. 6. Insurance claimed receivable, insurance receivable debit, loss by fire credit. 7. Goods taken by owner for personal use, drawings account debit, purchase credit. 8. Interest on loan payable, interest expense debit, loan payable credit. 9. Interest on investment receivable, interest receivable debit, interest income credit. 10. Investment made in share, investment in share debit, bank credit. 11. Dividend receipt, bank debit, dividend income credit. 12. Income tax paid personal, drawings debit bank credit. 30. Plenty paid to government, plenty expense debit bank credit. 14. Loss on sale of asset, loss on sale of asset debit, asset account credit. 15. Gain on sale of asset, bank debit, asset account credit, gain on sale credit. 16. Preliminary expense return of, preliminary expense return of debit, preliminary expense credit. 17. Audit fees payable, audit expense debit, audit payable credit. 18. Purchase of computer, computer account debit, bank credit. 19. Goods approved and sold, debtors debit, sales credit, VAT credit. ভিডিওটি ভালো লাগলে অবশ্যই লাইক কমেন্ট শেয়ার করুন। এরকম আরো ভিডিও পেতে চ্যানেলটি সাবস্ক্রাইব করে রাখুন। এতক্ষণ ধৈর্য ধরে ভিডিওটি দেখার জন্য সকলকে ধন্যবাদ।